Alrighty, so before we get started today, I want to say thank you to everyone that left comments on my last video plus the Reddit posts. It was definitely insightful to see everyone's thoughts and feelings about things, and I guess time will tell, as to how things play out. That all aside though, today's video is going to be about finding alternatives to NGS. Not replacements necessarily, but something that has some aspects of NGS in it and that you can enjoy during this content drought. Now, I'll be splitting these up into 3 different categories. So, first category will be single player, second will be multiplayer with friends, and then the last one is if you want your whole alliance to participate. Now, this list ranges from games that are completely free to play to stuff that you have to fork over a couple dollars for, and some of these games can even run on a toaster. So this includes as many people as possible. Now with that said, let's get started, shall we? Now the first single player game would be Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, and it has the fast-paced action of NGS in it. It's got a really good story, it's got very memorable characters that generate absolutely ridiculous levels of memes, and of course, the soundtrack. If you're one of those people that played NGS for its combat, this is a game for you to have fun with while you're waiting on the updates. Next game is Outer Worlds. Now, Outer Worlds has the open world aspects of NGS in it, and it's got a great story with multiple endings. The weapon customization is subpar, but as to how you can decide to play the game, it's pretty interesting. You could even choose a route where you're a complete maniac and you just murder absolutely positively anybody. It's great. It's definitely got a lot of replayability to it, and if you're one of the players who played NGS for the open world aspect and to explore every nook and cranny to see what you can find, there is definitely a lot of stuff you can find in this game. The world is very well crafted. It'll take you a while and a couple of replays before you get bored with it. So the next recommendation is 2 games, NieR Automata and NieR Replicant. You can play either one you want first. I'd suggest Automata first, then Replicant. So this has 2 aspects to it, open world and combat. The open worlds in both games definitely leave you wondering about, how everything ended up the way it is, and even though the story is kind of linear, there's a lot to explore, there's a lot to do. And along the way you have a very tight combat system with enemies that will definitely keep you on your toes, even on the easier difficulties. This is all accompanied by a story in both games that will definitely leave you reevaluating yourself and probably having an existential crisis, because I know it did that for me. Now the last single player game on this list is on the Nintendo Switch, and that would be Breath of the Wild. The combat in this game is pretty fun because not only do you have an assortment of weapons, but you also have this tool called the Sheikah Slate, which has its own various abilities that you can experiment with, and believe me, you can get some pretty interesting outcomes out of it. As for the open world aspect of this game, there's definitely plenty to see, do, and collect, as the fact that this world is pretty massive. The story is pretty cookie cutter, and the fact your weapons break all the time is kind of a bit of a bummer, but aside from that, it's pretty fun. But let's say you got a couple friends and you kind of want to play a game together. Well, I have a bunch of recommendations for you guys too. Now the first of which is Dark Souls 3. It's got some of the most brutal difficulty in gaming, the story's pretty interesting, about a whole undead world and whatnot, and the combat is slower, but I would say that it is definitely just as fun. And you'll definitely have a grand old time coming up with all sorts of interesting ideas with your friends. I still remember this one YouTube video where 2 guys decided to just have doors for weapons and just went around murdering enemies with that until someone tried to invade their world, and then all of a sudden now they're blocking people with doors. It was hilarious. But I've obviously missed on one very important factor, and that is fashion. PSO is definitely all about the fashion. This next recommendation definitely does accommodate for that, and that is Code Vein. It's pretty much the anime Dark Souls, where you'll be able to make your own or quite a few replications of various anime characters. Now the next game, you guys might just freak out a little bit on me, and it's No Man's Sky. Now, for those of you that have played it, you know what I'm talking about, but for those of you that haven't, it's more than likely you've heard about the terrible launch the game had, but years later now, it's actually a really good game. There's, the world generation has gotten a lot better, game has a lot more depth to it, it's still getting updates to this very day, and here's the best part, all those updates, that's not DLC, it's just part of the base game. If space games is your thing, this will definitely be great for you, and if you just like exploring worlds in general. Now we get to the most difficult list that I had to put together, which was the multiplayer games for alliances, because, well, not easy getting your entire alliance to move to a new game, so I picked this list out carefully, specifically based on what PSO is all about. And the first pick is Warframe. Now, some of you may have already played it, and you know how much of a grind fest it can be, but, you know, grinding aside, there's definitely a fashion factor. I mean, there's even subreddits where people post all their different cosplays and Warframe creations with all sorts of filters and whatnot. Pretty much the same way you guys do it in PSO Reddit. And in Warframe you have this thing called Captura, where you have all these scenes, including a green screen, cameras that move, and a whole bunch of other tools to really make your characters shine. Not to mention a dojo, where you can come together with your entire alliance, or well, clans as they're called there, and basically build whatever you want. Like this battleship I put together, or my own office, or my own bedroom, or this very weird looking giant robot that kinda somewhat resembles Bastion. All in all, I'd recommend Warframe for the more dedicated alliances, because there's definitely a lot to learn and a lot to do before you can get anywhere with it. Next game I'd kinda recommend would be Guild Wars 2. Now, I haven't played this one myself yet, and I'm trying to test it out to see, you know, if my alliance can get into it, but here's what I know so far about it. Right, it's got a massive open world to explore, it's got a guild system, it is a more traditional MMO, and I haven't tried to combat out for myself yet, so I can't necessarily say if it's good or not. But on the bright side, there is a free-to-play element of it, where you can definitely jump in, get your bearings, get your alliance going, and get everyone together to, you know, do stuff, and if you do enjoy it, you can then buy the expansions. Now, there are limitations to the free edition, so be sure to look up on their website exactly what you can and cannot do before you decide, and it is about 50 gigs to download, so keep that in mind too. But yeah, once you got all that sorted, I mean, it doesn't necessarily cost you that much to just jump in and give it a go and see if you like it. Now, the final recommendation I would make would definitely be Final Fantasy XIV. I tried to jump into this game myself, but well, the action combat about it doesn't necessarily work exactly or anywhere near the same as PSO. It's more of the traditional MMO. Pretty much a lot of the PSO community is actually moving towards this game, and I can definitely understand why. If you don't like subscriptions though, that is definitely an issue because it is part of this game, but there is enough free content to at least get like over 100 hours of playtime out of it, no problem. Just be sure to download the non-Steam version, so then that way you're not locked into a specific region and you can, you know, be actually able to join up with your alliance. Do note though, your alliance leader will definitely have to bite the bullet as to, you know, if they want to start the alliance there, then they'll have to pay the subscription to start it up. Now, I know most of these games are older and most of you pretty much seen and done everything in all of them. We definitely got stuff to look forward to. There's New World, which is a game made by Amazon. There's Blue Protocol, which at the moment it's only seeing a Japan release, but hopefully in the future they'll make a global edition. And the last one is Digimon Super Rumble, and I guess that one's a bit of a niche, but we'll see how these games go and if they can be something we can enjoy. See how things go, I guess. But yeah, I hope I could help the community at least find a couple games to enjoy while they're waiting on this content drought that we're in right now. But, you know, if anything piqued your interest, you know, do be sure to have a look online for reviews and, you know, because I'm not really good at this kind of thing. I'm just sharing my findings with you guys and, you know, just trying to help us all. That was my list of alternative games to NGS. You know, if you like the video, like the video. If you dislike it, dislike it. And, yeah, if you want to see more content, feel free to subscribe. But yeah, that's all from me. Ciao for now.